We've been asked a lot by our subscribers about red mite, so in this video we're going to talk about how to prevent it and how to treat it if you do get it. Welcome to English Country Life. My name's Fiona, and together with my lovely husband Hugh, we own a small holding homestead here in South Lincolnshire in the UK. And we've been asked a lot by our subscribers about red mite, how to treat it. And in this video, what we're going to do is try and help. So what we're going to cover first is, what is red mite? What does it do? Because that's going to help us understand how to reduce the chances of getting it. And then we'll go through the treatments should you get it. Now, if you do get it, don't be embarrassed about it, because most chicken keepers will come across red mite at some point in their chicken keeping career. So it's very, very common. But let's get started at looking at what red mite is in the first place. So what are red mites? Well, they are the vampire of the chicken world. And why are they called vampires? Well, they come out at night and they suck the blood of your chickens. They can be one of two colours. It can be a yellowish brown or they can be red. They're only red once they've sucked the blood of your chickens. So it's really quite phenomenal the way they change colour. And they are absolutely tiny. So how do you know that you've got them? Well, there's two ways to find them. One is actually on your chickens themselves, and you'd expect around the vent area and in the joint between the leg and their body, and it's because those are very warm areas and you're looking for movement, and it really is tiny movement. And the other way is look inside your coop, because during the day they come off your chickens and actually hide in the crevices in the coop. But as you can see from this wooden coop, this has got loads of crevices. There's lapped wood everywhere, so you can't really lift up all these laps. So how do you find those mites? Well, there's always something that's movable. In this coop we've got hatches at the side, there's movable perches, and what we do is actually lift those up, and we're looking for both a grey powdery substance and movement. Now, the grey powdery substance, it's actually the poop of the mites, and I know it's really not a nice thing, but it's true, that's what it is. There's just a word of warning there: if you're using diatomaceous earth mixed in with your bedding, it's possible that you'll have that grey residue from the diatomaceous earth. So if you are using that, you're looking for movement and the grey residue. And as you can see, these little mites are absolutely tiny from this clip. Another way to check, just as a third method inside the coop, is to put your hand inside. And you may not want to do this, because the idea is you hold your hand there for 2 minutes and the mites sense the warmth of your hand and actually drop onto it. And as I said, you may not want to do that because the mites are actually going to drop onto your hand. Now, as a final word, just something else to consider: if you are using straw as bedding, straw is actually hollow tubes, and this is a haven for those mites too. So this is something to think about. If you are concerned about mites, or if you've had them in the past and you have straw as bedding, ditch it. Move to dust extracted wood shavings, and we actually use large bales of the equine variety. So they're made for horses and they come in giant compressed bales, and they're significantly cheaper to buy that way than the small pet bales that you might get. Those are very expensive. But let's move on to prevention. How do you prevent those horrible little vampires from getting onto your chickens? Well, there's a few things we do. The first is we restrict visitors. So if you happen to visit us and you keep chickens, you'll be able to view our chickens from outside the electric fence when they're free ranging, but you won't be able to go inside the field. If you come during flock down, you'll be able to view them outside the ultimate flock down enclosure, but you won't be able to go inside. Second thing we do is we never bring live birds onto the property, and we've got that fabulous advantage of having broody hens who incubate, hatch and raise chicks for us. So if we want new chickens, we use our great broody hens. You may not have that advantage, and you may be in a position where the only way you can increase the size of your flock is to buy pullets. If that is the case, when you bring them in, we would highly advise you quarantine them for a period of at least 2 weeks. And during that time, inspect them very, very closely in the way we've described in the first section for identification, and also inspect those coops. And that brings us on to second-hand equipment. You may see an absolute bargain coop that you want to buy and use, and that's brilliant, absolutely fantastic, but we'd also highly recommend doing 2 things when you bring that coop onto your property. The first is, again, quarantine it for at least 2 weeks and keep inspecting it, and the second is clean the snot out of it. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've got a wooden coop, we actually think that you should be scrubbing it down at least twice during that period. First, when you get it onto the property, and second, just before you're going to put it into your chicken area, and it's scrubbing it really, really hard. If you happen to have a plastic coop, you can use a pressure washer, and that's one of the reasons why we are now favouring Nestera Coops, because we can use the pressure washer on it, which would get rid of those crawlies really, really easily. But as part of that routine exercise of washing those coops, we use Smite. Now, this is an insecticidal disinfectant, so we'll do all that scrubbing, or we use the pressure washer, and then we'll spray this onto the coops. And actually, we do this for all of our coops on a regular basis, so once a month at least they get this scrub down and this spray onto them. What you can use an alternative is Durgal. Now, this is a tiny bottle because it's highly concentrated, and this also is an insecticidal disinfectant. And the added advantage of this, we'll talk about this more in the treatment side, because you can actually spray this onto the chickens. This is safe to spray around chickens but not on them. Durgal is actually safe to spray on the chickens themselves. The other thing which you could do is actually mix some diatomaceous earth in with your bedding, and that actually dries out the little mites themselves and actually prevents them from breeding. But it has to be said, this should be used with absolute caution, because it's a very, very fine powder, and it's now known to be a carcinogen. And that means that it is actually a cancer-causing agent. So use it very, very sparingly, but also be aware, because it is such a fine powder, it could cause respiratory issues for both you and your chickens. So you may choose not to use it. But this is our array in battling our biosecurity and those little vampires that could go on your chickens. You found red mite on your chickens or in your coop, those horrible little vampires. How do you get rid of them? Well, we keep some items in stock here, and I want to show you some of them. And the reason we keep them in stock is, if we do find them, we don't want to wait for deliveries. That could cause us all sorts of problems with the chickens, because as we said, we know people who have actually lost chickens to red mite infestation, so we want to get on top of it as quickly as possible. Now, the products we would use are ivermectin and Durgal. Ivermectin is veterinary only, and it's actually not licensed for chickens. It is licensed for small animals and pigeons. We would use a 1% solution, and it comes in this handy dropper form. And how much do you use? Well, it's 1 drop per 500 grams of chicken, and you apply it directly to the skin, not to the feathers, between the shoulder blades. And it's absorbed in through the skin into the bloodstream, and that means that when the red mite sucks the blood of your chicken, it takes in this treatment, and it does kill them. We also use Durgal, and Durgal actually immobilizes your red mite. And how do you apply it? Well, you apply it to the chickens and to the coop. For the chickens, you spray it in the vent area and in that crevice between the legs and their body. Spray it liberally. It's perfectly safe. In the coop, we remove all the bedding, spray it down every crevice inside and out. Now, for the chickens, we generally use this 1 litre sprayer. For the coops, we would use a knapsack sprayer. And how often should you do it? Well, you do 1 application of both treatments. Wait 7 days, because that first application will kill anything which is live on your chickens or in the coop. The second application is to kill anything which is hatched from the eggs that the first treatment killed. We then recommend you do a third treatment for safety's sake, because it can't hurt, it really can't. But during that period, and for 7 days after the final treatment, all eggs should be discarded. It's not because Durgal's got an egg withdrawal period, but the ivermectin does. So just be aware of that. So that means for a full 3-week period, there's no eggs that can be used. They do have to be discarded. There is another treatment out there on the market, which is amazing. It's incredibly effective, but it can only be purchased from your vet. It must come with a prescription. And it's actually put into the chicken's drinkers. It's called Exalt, and it's very, very effective. But these are really for larger groups of chickens. So if you have a larger group, or if you have problems actually handling your chickens and you find the applications of these difficult, Exalt is perfect because it's put into their drinkers and it will kill those mites. But we do recommend that you still actually treat your chicken coop with a Durgal treatment, just to make sure anything hiding there is also killed. But that is how to actually treat it, and it's both ways are very effective, and we highly recommend them. Well, that's covered all aspects of red mite, and we really do hope that that's taken the stress out of it for you. And if you do find it, it's not the end of the world. It can be treated. But don't forget those prevention measures. It's such an easy thing to do, and that really does reduce your risk of getting red mite. If you have liked this content, please take a moment and give us a thumbs up down below. If you've got a comment for us or an idea for another video, because don't forget this video was inspired by you, our subscribers, pop it in the comment section and we'll get back to you as soon as possible, or even make another video for you. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, come and join us. Hit subscribe and the bell icon, and it's a completely free service, and it means you'll be notified every time a new video is loaded to the channel. But for now, thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.